turn of time occurred the world spirit light into the earthly stream of beings. Night darkness had ended its prevail. The brightest light streamed into human souls, light that warms the poor shepherd hearts, light that enlightens the wise kings' heads. Divine light, Christ Son, warm our hearts, enlighten our heads, so that good will be what we through our hearts rise, what we through our heads purposefully want to lead. Hello, thank you for joining this lesson from the Spiritual High School, which was given by Rudolf Steiner. And today we will do the 8th lesson, the lesson number 8. And at the beginning of the lesson, Rudolf Steiner pointed out words about the earnestness, what means this spiritual kind of work to the world and to the Anthroposophical Society, and which earnestness is in that situation that after hundreds or thousands of years, in the first time someone who was such high graduated spiritual teacher like Rudolf Steiner not only has done the spiritual teaching, he also, after the Christmas coming together in 1923 of the Anthroposophical Society, he was also in the board. He was chief of the board of the Anthroposophic Society, though he was at the position to be responsible for the esoteric things in the society and also for the exoteric things. So it was a very earnest situation for him. And he pointed out that that means it's also very earnest for the members. And this part of the lesson 8, which is in the first minutes, will be given at this video recording after the lesson. If you want to hear it, it will come after this lesson. And like the last time, I would really please you to see this is a worship, a Christian worship, Archangel Michael Christian worship. So if possible, have a look that it's possible to see it in one part and without interruption or or any break on hearing and watching this spiritual school and the mantras. So I will start with lesson number 8. I wish to begin today's lesson without you taking notes, only listening at first by speaking the mantric formula which points to what has resounded throughout the ages, first from the mysteries, but previously for the mysteries from the script written in the stars, in the whole cosmos, and which resounds in the human soul, in the human heart as a great challenge to humanity to strive for a true knowledge of self. This challenge, O man, know yourself, rings forth from the whole cosmos. We look up at the stars, which reveal an especially clear writing in the zodiac, which through their composition in certain forms reveal the grand cosmic script. For one who understands the script, the cosmic words will sound forth. O man, know yourself. When we look up at what the planets reveal by their movement, first the sun and moon, but also the planets which belong to the sun and moon, then just as the movements of the stars reveal the powerful, forceful cosmic world, so do these planetary movements reveal the heart and feeling content. And through what we experience from the elements which surround us on the earth, and in which we partake through our skin, through our senses, through everything in us that enters into us and acts in our bodies, earth, water, fire, air, through them the will element pours into the worlds. We can therefore let these cosmic word, which rings out to humanity, act on our souls through the mantric words. O man, know yourself, so resounds the world word. You hear it soul powerful, you feel its spirit vastness. Who speaks so word vastly, who speaks so felt heartily, does it act through space, distant radiation, in your senses being experienced? Does it sound through time's weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you yourself who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling foreign, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking, losing in the time-destroying stream? My dear friends, my dear sisters and brothers, there exists no knowledge which is not closely tied to the spiritual world. Everything we call knowledge which is neither investigated in the spiritual world, nor imparted by those who are able to investigate in the spiritual world, is not real knowledge. We must be clear about the fact that when we look around in the world, in the kingdom of nature, these the colors and the radiance manifest, the what lives above in the shining stars, in the warming sun, what springs up from the depths of the earth. It is all sublime, grand, beautiful, full of wisdom, and we would be very mistaken to ignore this beauty, sublimity, this wisdom. If one wishes to become an esotericist, if he strives for real knowledge, then he must have a sense for the world around him, an open, free sense. For during the time between birth and death, during this earthly existence, he is obligated to absorb his strength from the forces of the earth and to return the results of his work to the forces of the earth. But also it is true that man must really participate in all the colors, on colors, sound on sound, warmth on warmth, star on star, cloud on cloud, creator of the kingdoms of nature which surround him. It is also true that if when he looks out at all the grand, powerful, sublime, wise, beautiful things his senses convey, he still does not discover what he himself is. Rather is it just then, when he has a correct sense of the sublimity, beauty and grandeur of his surroundings in his life on earth, that he will realize in this light-filled kingdom of earth the inmost source of my being is not present, it is elsewhere. Full recognition of this causes us to seek the state of consciousness which moves us on to what we call the threshold to the spiritual world. This threshold, which lies immediately before an abyss, we must approach and remember that in all that surrounds us in earthly existence, the primal source of humanity is not found. Then we must know at the threshold stands a spiritual figure, called the guardian of the threshold. This guardian takes care, beneficially, to man, that one does not cross the threshold unprepared, without having experienced deeply in the soul those feelings I have spoken about. But then he really is prepared with inner earnestness for spiritual knowledge, whether by means of clairvoyant consciousness or through healthy human understanding of what he has been told, for both ways are valid. Only then is it possible for the guardian of the threshold to reach out with a helping hand and allow him to look over the abyss. There, beyond the threshold, where the human being's inmost being originated, utter darkness lies at first. My dear friends, my dear sisters and brothers, we seek light in order to see in the light the origin of our own being. At first darkness reigns. This light which we seek must radiate out from the darkness, and it only radiates out from the darkness when we become aware of how the three fundamental impulses of our soul life, thinking, feeling and willing, here is this earth life, are held together by our physical body. Thinking, feeling and willing are conjoined in physical existence. If I mentally draw how they are conjoined, it looks like this. Feeling green extends into thinking yellow, willing red extends into feeling. So in earthly existence the three are conjoined. One must learn to feel that the three separated from each other, and if more and more he uses the meditations suggested to him here by the school as the content of his soul life, he will note the following. Again, thinking yellow is thread, detached itself from feeling. Feeling green is on its own, as is willing in red. For one learns to perceive without the physical body. The physical body had held thinking, feeling and willing together, that had pressed them into each other. Around the first drawing an oval is drawn. Here in the second drawing on the right, and the physical body is not present. Through the meditation which he receives here at the school, one gradually comes to feel himself outside his body, and he comes to regard the world as self, and what self was as world. He stand here on the earth in our earthly existence. We feel like human beings. We say as we become inwardly aware, this is my heart, these are my lungs, this is my liver, this is my stomach. What we call our organs, what we call the physical human organization, we consider to be our own. And we point up, that is the sun, that is the moon, those are the stars, the clouds, that is a tree, a stream. We identify these things as being outside us. We are within our organs. We are outside of those things we indicate as. That is the sun, that is the moon, those are the stars, and so on. When we have prepared our soul enough, though that they can perceive without the body, that is outside the body in the spiritual universe, then the reverse consciousness comes about. Now we speak of the sun as we speak of our heart. Here in earthly existence, that is my heart. We speak of the moon, that is the creator of my form. We speak of the clouds more or less, as we speak on earth of our hair. We call our own organism what people on the earth see as components of the universe. And we point out, look there, a human heart, human lungs, a human liver, that is objective, that is world. Just as when we are in our physical bodies, we look out from here to the sun and moon and to the world. When from the universe we look at the sun and the moon and clouds and rivers and mountains, and they are within us. And when we look at man, he is our outer world. The difficulty is only in the special relationship, and the difficulty will be overcome. And soon as we leave our physical body, With our thinking, we perceive the thinking as one with all that is manifested in the stars. Here on earth we call our brain our own as the instrument of our thinking. But now we begin to feel the stars, especially the stars of the zodiac, as our brain when we are out in the universe and look down at man external to us. And we perceive the circling planets as our own feeling. Our feeling follows then the course of the sun, of the moon and the other planets. Between what we experience as thinking in the fixed stars and feeling is the sun in ourself. The sun sign is inserted between the yellow and green in the second drawing, and the moon lies between feeling and willing, which we also feel within us. The moon sign is inserted between the green and red area, and by simply meditating on this figure, it has the force to bring us closer and closer to spiritual visions. It must be realized that what I am saying here can really be experienced, leaving the physical body, expanding throughout the cosmos, feeling the elements of the cosmos, sun and moon, stars, and so on, as one's own organs. Observation of humanity as our exterior world. What must be perfectly clear, however, is that our thinking, our feeling and our willing, which on earth is a unity held together by the physical body, now becomes threefold. And we learn to feel this threefold nature above all when we observe thinking. Dear friends, dear sisters and brothers, this thinking which man uses on earth between birth and death is a corpse. It does not live. Whatever he may think with his brain about the beautiful, sublime, grand earth in the surrounding, these thoughts do not live. They lived in pre-earthly existence. They lived these thoughts when we had not yet descended to the physical world, but still lived above in the soul spiritual world as soul spiritual beings. There the thoughts which we have on earth were alive, but our physical body is the grave in which the moribund thought world is buried when we descend to the earth. And here we carry the corpse of thought within us, and we think about our sensibility surroundings on earth, not with living thoughts, but with the corpse of thought. But before we descended to this physical world, a living thinking existed within us. My dear friends, we only need to immerse ourselves in these truths again and again with inner strength, and we come to the conscious conclusion that it really is so. One comes to know the human being in this way. One comes to know him and sees him so. This is the human head. The outline of the head will be sketched. This human head is the barrier and support for earthly corpse thinking. From it spring forth, but that the thoughts which spread over what is perceived by the eyes, by the ears, by the sense of warmth, by the other senses, we observe the thinking that corresponds to the life on earth. By gradually we learn to see through this thinking. Within the spiritual cell of the human head is the lingering sound of the true living thinking in which we lived before descending to the physical world. When one looks at man, one sees at first his dead thinking, but behind the dead thinking in the head spiritual cell is the living thinking. And this living thinking has brought within it the force necessary to form our brain. The brain is not thinking's creator, but the product of pre-earthly living thinking. So when we look at the human being with the correct awareness, that earthly thinking is manifested on the face of the head. If we look within to the spiritual cell behind, we see the living thinking which is like a will, such as the will we are otherwise aware of in the human motor system, which is really sleeping in us, for who we don't know how thoughts descends to our muscles and so on. When it intends to will this or that, then we observe what lives in us as will. We see it as thinking in the spiritual cell behind the sense-orientated thinking. But then this will, which we become aware of as thinking, is creative for our thinking organ. For the thinking is no longer human thinking, it is cosmic thinking, it is world thinking. If we can understand the human being so that we look through the earthly thinking, to the thinking which made the brain the basis for thinking on earth, then sensory thinking flows out into the cosmic nothingness, into the world nothingness, and eternal thinking arises as will. We become conscious of all these when we let the following mantric word act in us. See behind thinking's sensory light, how in the darkened spirit cell willing rises from the body's depths. Let flow through your soul's strength that thinking into the world nothingness, and the will, it arises as world thought creating. This imagination must gradually stand before you, my dear friends. This imagination of dead thinking directed towards the sensory world streaming out from the head. Behind it lurks, at first in darkness, the true thinking which glows through sensory thinking, and which builds the brain as man descends from the spiritual to the physical world, it is however like will. And one sees then how from out of man the will arises. There will be drawn white lines from below to above, spreading in the head to become cosmic thinking, because what lives in the will as thinking is already cosmic thinking, world thinking. We should therefore try to better understand and bring closer the mantric thoughts which we can imbue in the soul in the following way. The first verse is written to the board. See behind thinking sensory light, how in the darkened spirit cell. That is, one must look behind thinking. Willing rises from the body's depths. One must become strong in the soul to let normal sensory thinking flow away. Let flow through your soul's strength dead thinking into the world nothingness. And the will, it arises as world thought creating. These 7 lines contain the secret of human thinking's connection to the universe. We must not pretend to understand these things with the intellect, but must let them live in feeling as meditation. And these words have force. They are constructed harmoniously. Thinking, willing, world nothingness, will, and world thought creating are arranged here in inner organization of thoughts, though they can work on the imaginative consciousness. Just as we can look at the human head and it becomes a means for us to look into world thought creating, we can also look at the human heart, at the physical imaginative representative of human soul. As thinking is the abstract representative of the human spirit, we can look upon the human heart as a representative of feeling, and we can look into feeling as it applies to human earthly existence, but now no longer behind, but into it. For just as we perceive world thought creating in the spiritual cell behind thinking, we can also perceive feeling, whose representative the heart is streaming through something, which from the cosmos goes in and out of man. We perceive cosmic life which becomes human soul life. As here in the first verse must be behind thinking sensory light, now it must be in feelings in the second mantra, which must be harmonically interwoven with the first. See in feeling soul weaving, as in the dreams down, life streams in from cosmic distance, let in sleep through the calm of the heart, human feelings silently blown away, and the world's life spirited as human being power. The second strophe is written on the board. See in feeling soul weaving, as in the dreams down. Feeling is only a wakeful dreaming. Feeling are not as conscious as thinking. They are as conscious as the picture in dreams. Thus feeling is a waking dream. Therefore, see in feelings soul weaving, as in the dreams down. Life, here in the first verse, willing, rises from the body steps, whereas here life streams in from cosmic distance. Life streams in from cosmic distance. As here in the first verse, thinking is to flow into the cosmic void, into the world darkness, through strength of soul. Now we let the dreams of feeling gust away, but in their place we perceive in the soul's weaving of feeling what streams in as cosmic life, when feeling streams completely dissolve in sleep. When individual human feeling stops, then cosmic feeling, cosmic life weaves into man. Life streams in from cosmic distance. The writing continues, let in sleep through the calm of the heart. Here in the first verse we need strength of soul. Here in the second verse we need complete tranquility, calmness, for the dreams of feeling dissolve in sleep, and the divine cosmic life streams into the human soul. Let in sleep through the calm of the heart, human feelings silently blown away, and the world's life spirited as human being power. In these 7 lines, the whole secret of human feeling is contained, if it can become independent, when the unity of thinking, feeling, willing becomes threefold. In this way, we can also observe the human limbs in which the will is revealed. Here we cannot say, see behind, see into. Here we must say, see above. For thinking streams down to the will from the head, although man with normal consciousness cannot see it. But the thoughts stream from the head into the limbs in order for the will to be able to act in the limbs. When we observe the will acting in the limbs, when we see in every arm movement, in every leg movement, how the will streams in, then we also realize how in this will there is a secret thinking, a thinking which directly grasps earthly existence. Actually, it is our being in earlier earthly lives, which grasp earthly existence through the limbs in order that in grasping it we can live our present life on earth. Thinking descends into the limbs. When we see how thinking descends, we are seeing thinking in the will. Then, because we are seeing with the soul, we see how thinking lives in the arms, in the hands, in the legs, in the feet, in the toes, a process otherwise hidden from us. Then we must see how this thinking is light. Thinking as light streams through arms and hands, through legs and toes, and the will, which otherwise is sleeping in the limbs, therefore transforms itself, and thinking appears as a magical being of will that transplants the human being from earlier lives, after becoming spirit, into the present earth life. See over the will's body activities, how in sleeping activity fields, thinking descends from the head's forces, led through the soul imagination to light, human will transform itself, and the thinking, it appears as the will's magical being. It conjures, that is, it acts magically on the invisible thinking in the will of the limbs. He understands the human being who knows that the thought which is not seen in the will, because we are sleeping in the will, acts magically in the limbs as will, and only be seeing as magically the thoughts which pass through the arms and hands, through legs and toes, is true magic understood. The third strophe is written to the board. See over the will's body activities, how in sleeping activity fields, thinking descends from the head's forces, led through the soul imagination to light, human will transform itself, and the thinking, it appears as the will's magical being. Therein is contained the secret of human will, which creates magical from out of the universe into man. Let us then, my dear friends, my dear sisters and brothers, consider this a foundation for building later on, at a time to be announced, a foundation for again and again in meditation, letting the mantric words flow through the soul. So behind thinking's sensory light, how in the darkened spirit cell, willing rises from the body's depths, let flow through your soul's strengths, that thinking into the world nothingness, and the will it arises as world thought creating. See in feelings soul weaving, as in the dreams down, life streams in from cosmic distance. Let in sleep through the calm of the heart, human feelings silently blown away, and the world's life spirited as human being power. See over the will's body activities, how in sleeping activity feels. Thinking descends from the head's forces. Let through the soul imagination to light, human will transform itself, and the thinking it appears as the will's magical being. And at the end I will again speak the words of the first word. O man, know yourself. So resounds the word. You hear it soul powerful. You feel its spirit vastness. Who speaks so world vastly, who speaks so felt heartily, does it act through space distant radiation, in your senses being experience? Does it sound through time's wave weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it yourself who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling for aim, sensing in spaces emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking losing in the time destroying stream. Thank you very much. My dear friends, a large number of anthroposophical friends have appeared at the class today who have not been here before, so I am obligated to say a few introductory words about the school arrangements. It is to be remembered in all earnestness that with this Christmas conference at the Goetheanum a new element has entered into the anthroposophical movement, especially the members of our free School for Spiritual Science must be aware of this new element. I have often indicated this, but I know that many anthroposophical friends are here for the first time who have never heard it, so I must emphasize it once again. For it is true that before the Christmas conference it was always emphasized that the anthroposophical movement and the Anthroposophical Society must be held strictly separate. The Anthroposophical movement represented the inflow of spiritual wisdom and the life impulse into human civilization today, which can and should be obtained for our present time directly from the spiritual world. This anthroposophical movement exists not because people like it to exist, but because the spiritual powers which guide and lead the world and affect human history consider it right that spiritual light which can come through anthroposophy flow today into human civilization in the appropriate manner. The Anthroposophical Society was founded in order to act as an administrative society for the body of anthroposophical wisdom and life. And it had to be continually emphasized that anthroposophy as such is beyond and above any societal organization, and the Anthroposophical Society is the exoteric administrator. That has changed since the Christmas conference at the Goetheanum. Since the Christmas conference, the opposite is the case. And only because the opposite is the case was I able to declare myself willing, together with the executive committee, the Vorstand, which was formed during the Christmas conference, and which whom the appropriate work to be done can be carried out, to take over the presidency of the Anthroposophical Society, which was founded at Christmas. I can explain what this means in one sentence. Until then, anthroposophy was administrated by the Anthroposophical Society. Now whatever happens through the Anthroposophical Society must itself be anthroposophy. Since Christmas, the Anthroposophical Society must occupy itself with anthroposophy. Every single act must have an esoteric character. The investment of the Vorstand was thus an esoteric measure, a measure which must be thought of as coming directly from the spiritual world. Only when our anthroposophical friends are conscious of this can the Anthroposophical Society thus founded thrive. So the Anthroposophical movement and the Anthroposophical Society have now become identical. Thus the Vorstand at Dornach is an initiative Vorstand, as was emphasized during the Christmas conference. Of course, there must be an administration, but that is not what it considers to be its principal task, but rather to make anthroposophy flow through the Anthroposophical Society and to do everything possible to achieve this objective. The position of the Vorstand at Dornach with the Anthroposophical Society is therewith given, and it must be clear that from now on every relationship within the Anthroposophical Society will not be based on some bureaucratic measure or other, but it will be based on the strictly human. Therefore, at the Christmas conference statutes that contains paragraphs which detail what members must believe or agree to were not presented. Rather, to the statutes described what the Vorstand intends, and that is how the Anthroposophical Society is constituted. It is founded upon human relationships. It is a minor thing, but I must emphasize it. Every member is issued a member card which is signed by me, so that even if it's an abstract thing, the personal relationship is at least present. It has been suggested that I have a rubber stamp made with my signature. I'm not going to do that, despite it not being exactly comfortable to sign 12,000 membership cards little by little. But I will not have the stamp made. First of all, because also very abstract a relationship is at least established to each and every member when, if only for minutes, the eye rests on the name of the person who carries the membership card. Obviously, all the other relationships will be even more human, but by this means a concrete beginning is made within our society. I must also stress that it must be clear to the members. I stress it because it has already been sinned against, that when the name General Anthroposophical Society is used, the agreement of the Vorstand at the Goetheanum is first obtained. In the same sense, when something comes from the Goetheanum and is then used as something esoteric, the use is based upon an understanding with the Vorstand at the Goetheanum. This means that nothing by way of formulations and teaching which appears in the name of the General Anthroposophic Society will be recognized by us here as valid unless an understanding with the Vorstand at the Goetheanum has taken place. In the future, no abstract relationship will be possible, only concrete ones. Anything said to come from the Goetheanum must really come from the Goetheanum. Therefore the use of the title General Anthroposophical Society for lectures to be given somewhere, or for the use of formulation and the force which originate here and which an active member wishes to distribute, should write to the Secretary of the Anthroposophical Society at the Goetheanum, that is Mrs. Wegmann, in order to obtain the Vorstands agreement. It is important that in future the Vorstand at the Goetheanum be understood as the center of the anthroposophical movement. Furthermore, the relation of this school to the Anthroposophical Society must be clearly understood by the membership. One who becomes a member of the Anthroposophical Society feels the inner heartfelt need to learn and live with circulates in the world as anthroposophical knowledge and living impulse. One assumes no responsibility other than those which come to the heart and soul from anthroposophy itself. Once one has been a general member of the General Anthroposophical Society for a certain time, presently the minimum is 2 years. He can apply for membership in the Free School for Spiritual Science. In the Free School for Spiritual Science, one assumes truly earnest responsibilities for the society. For anthroposophy, that is, that as a member one wishes to be a true representative of anthroposophy to the world. That is necessary today. The leadership of the Free School for Spiritual Science cannot agree to work together with someone as a member under other conditions. Do not say, my friend, that this is a limitation of freedom. Freedom demands that everyone involved be free. And just as one can be a member of the school and be free in this relationship, the leadership of the school must also be free to determine with whom it wishes to work and with whom not. Therefore, if the leadership for any reason is of the opinion that a member cannot be a true representative of anthroposophy to the world, it must be possible for the leadership of the school to either not improve that person's application, or, in the case where he is already a member, to say that this membership must be revoked. This must be strictly observed in the future, though that in fact a free cooperation exists between the school's leadership and the members. Step by step we will try to make arrangements, though that those who cannot take part in the continuing work of the school in Dornach can partake in some manner. We can only take the 5th step after the 4th, not the 7th step after the 1st. We must take one step after the other, and there has been much to do here since the Christmas conference. But it will all be arranged to the extent possible. We will have a newsletter through which those who reside elsewhere can participate in the school's activities. We were able to make a beginning with a newsletter that Miss Dr. Wegmann sent to the physicians who were thus able to participate in the work of this school. Things will develop as much as possible, and I ask that you be patent in this respect. Something else to be mentioned is that the school must be understood not as having been established by a human impulse, but from the spiritual world. A decision made from the spiritual world has been obtained with the means which are possible, so that this school is to be understood as an institution of the spiritual world for the present time, as has been the case with the mysteries in old times. Therefore, we may say today, this school must develop into a true mystery school for our time. Thus it will be the soul of the anthroposophical movement. This makes clear how serious membership in the school should be understood to be. It is obvious that all the previous esoteric work archived here will flow into the school's work. For this school is the esoteric foundation and source of all esoteric activity within the anthroposophical movement. Therefore, if anyone wishes to initiate any kind of esoteric work in the world without a connection to the Vorstand at the Goetheanum, they must either reach an understanding with the Vorstand, or they cannot include things which originate in the Goetheanum, in their teaching or impulse. Whoever wants to do esoteric work under conditions other than those just mentioned cannot be a member of the school. They must then do the esoteric work outside the confines of this school and unrecognized by it, but must clearly understand that it cannot include anything which originated in these schools. Relations with the school must be clearly understood, though the members must understand that the leadership of the school must be able to consider that each member is a true representative of anthroposophy in the world, and that every member represents anthroposophy exoterical as a member of the school should. Before I was president of the Anthroposophical Society, an attempt was made to organize the Goetheanum in the way other universities are organized. But that does not work under certain circumstances. Here, esoteric studies will take place which are not found in other universities, and there is no intentions to compete with other universities in the world, but to begin with questions about any field of life posed by honestly seeking people, which cannot be answered outside the esoteric. Therefore, in the future, especially for members of the school, nonsense which keeps being repeated must cease, because with the Christmas conference something real has happened, and for the Goetheanum to fulfill its mission, all the members of the school must frankly and freely declare, I am a representative of the anthroposophy, which comes given from the Goetheanum. Whoever will not do this, who thinks that one should be silent about anthroposophy. Prepare people slowly. Whoever wants to play politics and thinks that he can advance by denying us, and then people will come to us. They generally don't. Would be well advised to give up membership in the school right away. I can promise that in the future membership in the school will be taken very seriously indeed. For those members of the school whose work is really about anthroposophy and not something else, this will be accepted readily and gladly. Those who continually claim that you can't confront people with anthroposophy immediately, that you must somehow talk them into it gradually, may choose to exercise their opinion outside of the school. These are the conditions which must be adhered to, and I had to mention them today because so many anthroposophical friends are present who had not yet participated in the school. And this is the reason why you have had to wait so long for the lesson to begin. And listen to this introduction, so we can consider the lesson today to be a kind of preparation. I will hold a second lesson date to be announced in which no new friends may participate, so I ask those who wish to attend in the future to have patience, because if every time a lesson is held here new people come, we would never get anywhere. Of course, one can still become a member, but only members who have attended today will be admitted to the next lesson. It will be a continuation of today's lesson.